Good morning, everyone. A couple of days ago, JP and I came on and presented an idea, a framework prototype for something that he called prompt painting. And the idea was that you could take a section of text and you could break it into different segments, and then you could apply commands, kind of like paintbrushes or filters, to each of the sections. And you could prompt the large language model on how to modify that section, and it would do that in context of the overall document. So you could pick a paragraph and say expand, you could say contract, or you could give it special instructions. And so today I'm back to show you the next evolution of that in a quick update. And there's some really new fun features that are there that I think are kind of a game changer for how we interact with large language models. The first is a history feature. So as you make modifications to the different sections, you can move forward or backward in time and see how those changes have evolved, and you can look at each paragraph. You can do that at the segment level, so you can even change one paragraph here forward and backward in time, but the paragraphs above and below, they don't get modified. You can move those independently. And then the second feature that I'm going to show you is something called a critique feature. And I think this is really cool. I think you're going to love how insightful some of the critiques are and how easy it is to create and apply these critiques to your work and very quickly go from something that's really quite simple to something that is actually a sophisticated piece of text that is far better than the low quality, I guess, outputs that you can get from a large language model. And the other cool thing is it tracks the comments or the critiques over time, and so you can actually see which critiques you've applied and things like that, and that's really interesting as well. So on the prompt painter interface, we have three areas. The first is, what are we accomplishing today? That's the kickoff prompt, if you will, that will start us on the prompt canvas, which we have down below. And you start off with just a single empty prompt that you can work with. And then on the right-hand side, you have your menu, which has the different filters and the different controls for prompt painting. So let's give it a go. Write a story in 3 sentences. So I say, let's go. And it's going to give us this really simplistic story down below. And now what we have here is we should have 3 sentences. As you recall before, we can just break this up into different parts. So now our story is actually, our 3-part story is these 3 different parts. And if we edit this part here, let's say a solitary figure emerged from the forest, a weathered map clutched in one hand and an ancient key in the other, emerged from the forest. Emerged from the rainforest, a tiny weathered map clutched in one hand. So actually now we have a history. So we can move backwards and forwards in our changes. So I'll just show you that simply. And anytime we make a change, it doesn't capture every keystroke. It just captures every change when you move away from that segment. So if I was working here and then I moved on to there, then it'll update the history. So let's give the critique tool a try. So we have, it says critique being generated, please wait approximately 5 to 8 seconds. And so in the background, you'll have a critique. And here you'll see it pop up. And so the critique, there's seven criticisms that it has. So the adjective solitary is redundant with a solitary figure. All right, so remove that. The phrase tiny weathered map could be more descriptive. The term shimmering is vague. Under the cloak of twilight is a cliche. This passage could benefit from a hint of the figure's purpose. The term rainforest is generic, and the use of emerged is passive. So what we can do is we can go through on each of these generated comments, and we can either accept it or reject it. So if we wanted to accept it, I just click yes, and it'll rewrite that sentence. So now you actually see it's modified it. So it took out solitary figure, and now it's just a figure. And instead of tiny weathered map, let's change that, and a frayed map that bore the marks of long forgotten explorers. So now it's more descriptive. Instead of being weathered, it now has details of, it's frayed, and then it has, different marks to it. And so, or you could actually apply all these comments. And so let's let's take this and we'll see what it did. So now it's quite different. As dusk wove its dusty tapestry across the sky, a silhouette took form at the edge of the Amazonian rainforest, gripping a time-worn map, its edges tattered and etched with the legacy of bygone explorers. So it's much more descriptive. If we go back to the original piece, we have Under the Cloak of Twilight, and now here we actually have something quite a bit more descriptive. And we can keep critiquing this piece and running it through this criticism cycle, and then we see, what do we think of each criticism, and we'll run through that a couple of times. So we probably end up with another 8. There's 8 here. So the phrase "dusk wove its dusty tapestry" is redundant. The time-worn map is cliche. Silhouette is vague. Gripped a time-worn map is passive. So let's try to apply them all. So let's see what happens. No, actually, see, it's done something here, which is kind of funny. It's actually picked up one of the criticisms and it's embedded in there, so we can actually edit that. And so it uses overly complex language. The description is vivid but lacks a clear narrative hook. The use of variegated hues and measured resolve feels forced. Use natural language. So let's try to apply some of these things. So you see it's gotten rid of variegated hues. It's now an array of colors. So these are just some of the features. Play around with it. Let me know what you think, and let me know what you think of the whole undo, redo. And of course, this was just a fictional thing. If we go into something technical where we could want to write a technical document. So write a technical spec for a JavaScript application using Vue 3.x and Node.js as the backend. The app is called Foobar and is a customer service portal to capture feature requests for new AI interfaces. Right? So you can give it something here. So it's writing it down: customer service portal, technical components, authentication, front end, how we'll do the setup, user pages, and things like that. And here we can, it has all the accessibility requirements, the backend, the endpoints, data schemas, and we'll let it finish writing, and it'll even critique technical things as well. So let's let it finish. All right, so if I even pick security here, because security is always a good topic to discuss, and I have it critique the security, we'll see what it comes up with. So this lacks detail on the implementation of HTTPS. Storing JWTs in HTTP-only cookies is mentioned. Explain the reason. Bcrypt is specified for hashing. There's no mention of salting. The mention of express rate limits too vague. So let's actually apply these comments to the technical thing. And so now we're going to get into much more strict specifications. So now it's hashing passwords, incorporating salt to add uniqueness, and employing multiple hashing iterations to increase the computational load for attackers. So now you've had something which was was very high level, and it's taken its own feedback and it's rewritten it, and then you can go into this virtuous cycle, if you will, and capture the feedback, capture the critique, evaluate it yourself, apply the comments that you like, and then carry on. So even if I say secure JWT storage, so let's expand that. So now it's going to rewrite that section here. Now it actually has a lot more detail on the refresh tokens, which can be used to get a new access token, etc. So yeah, you can look at these different things, and you can rate limit configuration. I'll do one more on the password hashing, and then you can apply which ones that you like or which ones you don't. And of course, if I wanted to go in here and modify anything as it's between these, applying these critiques, I could go and do that, and then it would apply all of my changes directly into the edit itself. So here I can actually delete that. I don't want that, for example. And now let's go back and look at it. So we started with really just this quite minimal thing, and now we expanded it over time where we have a lot more technical detail. So you can start to turn this into a technical spec. And then I can actually do one more thing. I'm going to say add in the specific NPM libraries for each section that would be applied by Node.js. And so now I can give it a special instruction for this part, and it's going to rewrite this. So it's actually now going to recommend the different libraries like that it has. Of course, we'd have to confirm that cookie parser, bcrypt, express rate limit, joy, or express validator. So there now it's actually incorporating that in, and then I'll have it do one more thing. I'll have it write a expand with a proposed package.json. So then it'll have a technical spec, and then it should actually give us the package.json at the end that we would use to build this application. And of course, obviously we would build that ourselves using npm, but here we can kind of look at that, and one of the ideas around it is if you take the package.json, you can actually run this through a security screener, and you can look to see if any of the things that it's recommending have any security vulnerabilities. And so, there's lots of tools online to do that. And then that if you're starting off with anything that is out of date or whatever. So there we've gone through 7 iterations on the security front, and then we can at any time roll forward, roll back, and use any version of that. And just to show a couple things, there's also now a copy all segments button. So we've copied through the segments to the clipboard. You can select any segment and delete it. Let's say I didn't want the version control as part of my document. So I just go like that, and then I hit delete. Of course, I could delete the text myself, but if it was a dedicated segment, then I could do that. And then finally, when you're done, if you wanted to merge all this together, you can say merge all segments. And then now they're all together again, and I could even run a new critique on the entire document at this point. So it'll build me the critique piece here. Again, it usually takes between 5 or 8 seconds, but these critiques should now be at the entire document level. So let's go down and see what pops up. So here they are. It lacks a clear introductory to the technical specifications. Technical components could be enhanced by providing a description. The front end section lists technologies. It does not explain why these choices were made. Fair enough. User interface could benefit from visual aids. Consider adding wireframes. Accessibility and responsiveness is brief and lacks specifics. Backend could be more reader friendly. Use tables to organize the endpoints. Security enhancements. So one last thing, let's apply all those comments, and we'll see what we're able to come up with. So now there's an introduction. It's a service portal. It has the technical. Now it has why the components were chosen. Vue was chosen as for its progressive framework capabilities. Node provides a scalable network application framework, and so forth. So it's now describing why we used each thing. It's now building up the front end. And there's more of a textual description, has the user interface. It's building out a little bit more specificity, I think, in the accessibility. So that's it for today. Let me know what you think. I hope that these tools are perhaps helpful for what you're working on, and they could be something that you would apply into your own project, whether it be technical or creative. And I really like the idea of tapping into this critique function and helping me think through this. I think criticism is one of the powerful tools that we can look towards large language models to help us with, to apply critical thinking or to challenge our technical assumptions. And I really like the ability to then do comparisons between the different versions. Do I like the old one? Do I like the new one? Has it made a mistake? Do I need to undo something? I think that's super powerful, and I can't wait to see what you do with it once you get your hands on it. And drop a comment, let me know what you think, and let me know if there's any other features you think would be good to add to this tool as we go forward. Thanks a lot.